the darkest parts of the magical world.
Ooh, getting right into it. I like it.
Well, our listeners want to know about Horcruxes,
Right.
and we're going deep, using Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows to uncover the truth about this forbidden magic.
That's the perfect book for this.
We'll be tackling those big questions. What is a Horcrux? How are they made?
How-tos, of course.
Exactly, but also the why, the consequences, the price you pay for this dark magic.
The dark side of immortality.
You got it.
Sounds like fun.
By the end, you'll understand these complex things without getting lost in the details.
Like a shortcut to dark knowledge, sort of. You know what's so interesting about Deathly Hallows?
What's that?
It doesn't just tell us what a Horcrux is, it shows us the effects, the damage they do.
Oh, yeah.
Think about Ron Weasley and that locket Horcrux. The way it messed with his head, his emotion.
Made him paranoid, angry.
Exactly. That's the insidious power of these objects.
Like the magic just seeps out, infects everything. But before we get to all that, let's define what we're dealing with here. What is a Horcrux?
In the simplest terms, it's a piece of soul hidden inside something to escape death.
A soul fragment.
Yeah, like Hermione explains, you split your soul, hide a piece in an object. And as long as that piece is safe, you can't really die.
So it's not just living longer, it's tethering yourself to existence.
Yeah, no matter the cost.
But then, why didn't Voldemort make more Horcruxes? If it's so powerful.
Ah, that's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
The books only hint at it, but creating a Horcrux, it takes a toll on the soul.
So each split makes the soul weaker.
Exactly. Each act of violence you need to make one chips away at your humanity.
So there's a limit.
There is. A soul can only take so much before it becomes unstable.
So Voldemort was playing a dangerous game, this balancing act between power and losing himself.
Exactly.
And you mentioned the violence, the horrific act needed to create a Horcrux.
Right.
It's hard to even imagine what kind of person would do that.
Well, that's the chilling reality of it.
Yeah.
Murder is a key part of making a Horcrux. It's not just physical. It violates the soul.
Violates it.
Yeah, like Hermione finds out in Secrets of the Darkest Art. The soul is damaged forever.
It makes you wonder what kind of desperation would push someone to that.
I know, right?
I mean, Voldemort went from this promising student to, well,
to a monster, basically.
driven by fear, this lust for power that twisted him.
It's a reminder that immortality can have a dark side.
For sure.
Voldemort sacrificed his humanity, his empathy, and in the end, he was a prisoner of his own ambition.
Wow.
The Horcruxes, meant to give him power, led to his downfall.
Ironic.
Very.
Okay, so let's say someone's listening and they're thinking, immortality through soul splitting. Terrible idea.
Right.
But what if you need to destroy a Horcrux, like Harry and his friends?
Ah, now that's a
You
challenge.
can't just throw it away, can you?
No, these things are filled with powerful magic.
So you need something equally powerful to destroy them.
Exactly. Think basilisk venom, goblin-made blades, things that can cut through that magic.
Like the sword of Gryffindor, after it absorbed venom.
Right. It became a Horcrux-destroying machine.
What about Dumbledore and the ring? He used the sword, but it seemed different.
You're right. That's still a bit of a mystery.
A little vague in the book.
He used the sword, yes, but the curse on the ring? That might have played a role, too.
Maybe it boosted the sword's power.
Maybe. Or maybe there was something else we don't know.
We don't know a lot about this magic.
That's part of what makes it so terrifying.
It is, but here's a question that's been bugging me. What happens to the soul fragment after the Horcrux is destroyed?
I see what you mean.
Does it vanish or go back to the person?
That's a question Deathly Hallows doesn't answer.
Really?
It's something to think about. Does it disappear completely, or does it just break free, float around somewhere?
If what Hermione says about the soul is true, maybe it doesn't just vanish.
Interesting thought.
It's kind of creepy, these bits of Voldemort's soul still out there somewhere.
We're starting to think like a Horcrux hunter now. You are, and these are the questions that make this topic so fascinating.
Yeah.
Deathly Hallows gives us a glimpse into this dark magic, but leaves us with more questions than answers.
Maybe that's what Rowling intended.
Maybe.
That mystery is part of what makes this so interesting for our deep dive.
It is.
Now that we've got the basics, let's look at the specific Horcruxes Voldemort made.
Right.
Because his choices weren't random, not at all.
You're right. Each one tells us something about him.
Let's get into it then.
Let's do it. You've probably wondered why those specific objects, right?
Yeah, like, why those things?
They weren't just random trinkets.
I mean, they were important to Voldemort in some way, I guess.
Exactly. They reflect his values, his ambitions, twisted as they were.
So each one's like a window into his soul.
In a way, yes. Pretty disturbing when you think about it.
Where do we even begin?
Let's start with Tom Riddle's diary. Remember how it worked?
Yeah, I was messing with Ginny, right?
Subtly manipulating her, preying on her fears.
Like all Horcruxes do.
But the diary itself, it's revealing.
So.
Diaries hold memories, thoughts. It's a curated version of yourself. It shows Voldemort's obsession with his past, with his younger self.
So arrogant, thinking even his school days were worth preserving.
Like he was building a monument to himself.
Okay, what about the ring then? Dumbledore almost died, destroying that one.
Ah, the ring, that's a direct link to his family, to the Gaunts.
His mother's side, right?
Yes, Marvolo Gaunt, his grandfather, a descendant of Salazar Slytherin.
Blood, purity, all that.
Exactly. The ring represents that obsession, his belief in magical elitism.
And it had the resurrection stone in it too, one of the Deathly Hallows.
Right, like he was trying to cheat death twice over.
That's Voldemort for you?
The resurrection stone also points to his fear of oblivion.
He didn't want to die, obviously.
It was more than that. He craved power, but he also feared nothingness, the void.
So the Horcruxes were his way to avoid that.
Yeah, to control his destiny.
But that control came at a price. Think about the locket and what it did to Ron.
Ugh. Yeah, amplified all his negative feelings. Jealousy, insecurity.
Salazar Slytherin's locket, it wasn't just powerful, it was symbolic too.
You're right, it represented ambition, cunning, ruthlessness.
Everything Voldemort values.
And it warped the minds of anyone who touched it.
Then there's Hufflepuff's cup, hidden in Gringotts.
Of all places, right?
It's the nerve of that guy.
It shows his confidence, his arrogance, believing he was untouchable.
Hiding a Horcrux in the most secure bank in the world.
It wasn't just about safety. It was a power move.
Like daring someone to try and steal it.
Exactly.
Speaking of audacity, what about Ravenclaw's diadem?
Yeah, that one's interesting.
A symbol of wisdom turned into a Horcrux.
It shows a contradiction in Voldemort. He wanted power, but also recognition.
For his intelligence.
Yeah, the diadem represents brilliance. He wanted to claim that legacy for himself.
To be the most powerful and the smartest.
That was his goal.
Then there's Nagini, the snake, a living being as a Horcrux.
That's where it gets truly disturbing.
I know, it's awful.
Choosing a living creature, it shows how far gone he was.
No empathy, no compassion.
Nagini was a tool, a weapon, not a pet.
He saw everything as something to control, even life itself.
And then, the most unexpected Horcrux of all, Harry Potter.
A boy who lived.
Carrying a piece of Voldemort's soul without knowing it.
That was a mistake, wasn't it?
Voldemort's attempt to kill Harry backfired.
Creating this bond between them.
Exactly. A reminder that magic can have unintended consequences.
Like his obsession with controlling fate led to his downfall.
Ironic, isn't it?
For sure, but there's one more Horcrux we haven't talked about.
The missing one. The one they spent weeks searching for.
The mystery Horcrux.
It shows Voldemort's strategic thinking.
He hid it so well, even Dumbledore had trouble finding it.
It speaks to his paranoia, his need for control, his belief in his own superiority.
Remember how tense that search was?
A race against time.
And then the reveal, Ravenclaw's diadem, hidden at Hogwarts all along.
Brilliant, wasn't it?
Hiding it in plain sight.
Sometimes the most obvious answers are the hardest to see.
So every Horcrux destroyed chipped away at his power, his immortality.
Like a slow unraveling.
It was a battle on multiple fronts.
And the hunt wasn't just about finding objects.
It was about understanding Voldemort, his magic, his motivations.
A journey into darkness, a confrontation with the worst of human nature.
And through it all, Harry, Ron, and Hermione, they showed incredible courage.
I never gave up hope.
They proved that love and sacrifice can overcome even the darkest evil.
But the battle wasn't over. Destroying the Horcruxes was just the beginning.
It set the stage for the final fight, Harry versus Voldemort.
At Hogwarts, a battle for the fate of the wizarding world.
And that, my friend, is a story for our next deep dive.
A story about the true cost of immortality.
For now, let's think about these objects, these pieces of soul.
A reminder of the allure and the danger of chasing power.
No matter the cost. We've gone deep into Horcruxes, the magic, the objects, the choices Voldemort made.
All leading up to that final battle.
The Battle of Hogwarts. It was more than just fighting, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It was the climax of everything, the struggle against power, the sacrifices made.
And it really shows the difference between Harry and Voldemort, doesn't it?
You're right. Voldemort obsessed with living forever. He became less than human.
And Harry, even with that piece of soul inside him, he never lost his empathy.
It's like those two approaches to life and death, decided the outcome before it even started,
Voldemort wanted to conquer death. Harry wanted to protect life.
even if it meant sacrificing his own.
Remember when he walked into that forest, ready to die?
Powerful moment, accepting his fate like that, incredibly brave.
And then that twist, he didn't actually die, that limbo state meeting Dumbledore.
It's because of that connection that Horcrux, part of Voldemort, was in Harry.
Oh.
So when
Yeah.
the curse hit, it broke that link, sent Harry to that in-between place.
A chance to deal with his grief, understand Dumbledore, accept what he was carrying.
Exactly, and then Snape's story, the big reveal.
Wow, it changed everything. The villain turned out to be a protector.
Driven by love, such a powerful force even in this dark world.
His sacrifice allowed Harry to come back, help defeat Voldemort in the end.
So Harry returns. He understands more now about love, sacrifice, true power.
That final duel, the tension, the fate of the wizarding world.
Voldemort had the Elder Wand, but he was getting frustrated. His magic wasn't working.
He'd forgotten something important in all his pursuit of power.
True power isn't about spells or objects.
It's the connections we make, the love we share, the sacrifices for others.
Voldemort cut himself off from all that, made him vulnerable.
The Horcruxes meant to save him became his weakness, each piece of vulnerability.
And Harry used that against him. It wasn't just skill, it was understanding Voldemort.
His arrogance, his belief that he couldn't be defeated.
And in the end, it was his own spell that killed him.
Ironic, fitting for someone who wanted to control something he didn't truly understand.
Destroying Voldemort wasn't just about good versus evil.
It was about restoring balance, reminding everyone about love, compassion.
Things that matter even in the darkest times.
We started with a simple question: what's a Horcrux?
But we uncovered so much more.
Good and evil, power, love, sacrifice.
Most importantly, there's always hope, even in the darkest times.
As long as we have our values, our connections, fight for what's right, we can overcome anything.
That's the magic of Harry Potter.
So our deep dive into Horcruxes ends here.
But the lessons, the questions, they stay with us.
Keep exploring, keep thinking, keep the magic alive.
Until next time.
Exactly. There's always more to discover.